The American Brain Tumor Association is pleased to welcome you to our volunteer training webinar. Our webinar today will discuss why you should feel good about fundraising and how it may be easier and more fun than you think. My name is Michelle DeMelli. I'm the Corporate and Community Engagement Specialist for the American Brain Tumor Association. I am delighted to introduce our speaker today, Kelly Sitkin, Chief Advancement Officer at the American Brain Tumor Association. Kelly Sitkin has over 15 years of development experience, including strategic planning, major gift solicitation, community-based fundraising, and board development. Most recently, Kelly served as the director for the University of Wisconsin Carbone Cancer Center, where she managed development and external relations. Previous roles include Director of Annual Giving and Outreach for the Carbone Cancer Center and Director of Development for the University of Wisconsin Foundation. Kelly received her BA in Marketing from Huntington College, Montgomery, Alabama, and has held membership in and maintains professional associations with several national fundraising organizations, including the Association of Fundraising Professionals and the National Association of Cancer Center Development Officers. I'd also like to present our volunteer fundraising event organizers, Szykowny, Mary-Kate Rohn, and Ken Finley. Zach is a first-year event who just recently held Bats for Brains this past July in honor of his brother. Zach raised over $5,000 to benefit the ABTA. Today, he will share with you his experience as a first-time event and what he has learned. Mary-Kate is a second-year event who organizes the Birdies for Bill golf tournament in memory of her father. The event has raised nearly $45,000 to benefit the ABTA. A part of Mary-Kate's success is the utilization of sponsorships. Today, she will share with you her insight and how to start and effectively utilize sponsorship opportunities. Ken is a fifth-year event who organizes the Jim Vassar Golf Tournament. With the help of a committee, the event has raised over $35,000 to benefit the ABTA. Today, Ken will share how committees can bring not only talent, but fun to the planning of an event. With so much insight and knowledge that we want to share with you all today in just an hour, let's get started with the ABTA's Kelly Sitkin.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm thrilled to be here today and have this opportunity to talk with all of you about the joy of fundraising and how meaningful and fun the experience can be. I'm going to apologize right off the bat. I have been battling a cold for the last couple of days, so I am hopeful that I can keep my cough and sniffling to a minimum. But if you hear any kind of little muffles in the background, that's just me, so please ignore that. As Michelle mentioned, I have spent the last 15 years working in the philanthropy field. I love my job. I love my job because I get to work with passionate volunteers and supporters to help increase their understanding of and in personal engagement with causes that they care about. My goals for today's webinar are to inspire you, show you, support you, and learn from you on how giving and supporting the ABTA can be a rewarding experience and provide meaningful impact to the organization. But before we get into the tactical approaches and examples of successful fundraising efforts, I want to touch briefly on the importance of giving and fundraising for the ABTA. The ABTA is a 100% donative organization. This means that we rely 100% on donor giving to fund critical and groundbreaking research, provide much-needed patient support and education, and also advocate for the patients and families in the brain tumor community. We simply don't exist without the efforts of many donors, fundraisers, event participants, corporate sponsors, and volunteers. So thank you for all that you do. Now, I am sure that there are a few of you out there that are thinking, but Kelly, I'm not comfortable asking people for money. Isn't that what you like to do? Well, yes, it is actually. But there are several important reasons for ABTA volunteers and supporters to consider fundraising. The most important reason is outreach and awareness within your community. We are a small staff in Chicago, Illinois, and quite simply, you know a bunch of people that we do not. As you can see on this slide, these are not ABTA staff members, but rather volunteers, because you guys rock. However, this is about the size of our staff in Chicago. So as I was saying, you know a bunch of people that we do not. You are ambassadors for ABTA, and your involvement in fundraising signals that you value this organization. Talking about your involvement and taking action on behalf of the ABTA can have a ripple effect in your community and ultimately nationwide. Another reason to consider fundraising is that you have firsthand knowledge of the mission and services that ABTA provides. Unfortunately, you are in a position to draw on your own personal, authentic experience and tell real stories. There is an adage in fundraising that people give to people, not organizations. What you say when asking for donations or participation in an event is personal and compelling. You're not simply making a pitch for money, but you are sharing something important with family and friends. So hopefully by now, I've inspired you to consider giving or fundraising for the ABTA. Now I want to show you where the donated money goes and the impact of these gifts. In our last fiscal year, we had revenues of approximately $5.4 million. As you can see, 50% are from donations, 40% are from our events, and 2% are from other sources. Included in the 48% from events is our volunteer fundraising program donations. Last year, over 100 individuals and groups hosted events in their communities on behalf, raising over $550,000. A huge thank you to all the dedicated folks and 3 that you're going to hear from today. So now, how did we use this money that we raised? Well, first of all, program services accounted for about 80% of our budget. As you can see from the chart, over $2.5 million was spent on our medical and scientific research program. Patients are at the core of the American Brain Tumor Association Research Funding Program. Each grant funded by the ABTA is selected because of the way it supports our mission of advancing the understanding and treatment of brain tumors. Basic research grants, discovery grants, multi-investigator, and medical student summer fellowship grants are helping to build and encourage scientists interested in discovering more about the causes, effects, diagnosis, and treatment of brain tumors. We also spent approximately $800,000 on patient and caregiver support. I'd like to point out that we take great pride in the fact that we are the only national brain tumor organization that focuses on patient and caregiver education and support services. From our Careline services to our peer-to-peer mentoring program to our patient and caregiver education conferences, brain tumor patients and their families are always at the heart of what we do. Next, we spent approximately $238,000 on healthcare professional outreach. This includes education and training, professional meetings, and support group leader training. An additional $365,000 was used to support public education and awareness. This included print materials for brain tumor patients, educational webinars, as well as brain tumor educational presentations. And lastly, because we always want to be transparent with donor dollars, 15% of expenses were to support our fundraising efforts and 5% for management and general operating expenses. Now that we have showed you where and how your donations are used, it's now time for the fun part and to move on to how to put the fun in fundraising and how the ABTA staff can support you in your efforts. In my opinion, one of the greatest things about volunteer fundraising is that you can be as creative and engaged in the process as you would like to be, because you determine the goal, you determine the amount of time you can spend, and how you wish to show your support. It's your personality, your interests, your knowledge of your community that can all shine through when determining how, when, and where you want to fundraise. And don't worry, the ABTA is here to assist with guidance, support, and the necessary tools to help you make your fundraising an enjoyable experience. Now let's talk about some easy ways to fundraise, and then we'll hear from our 3 volunteers who will present on why they chose to fundraise for the ABTA and to share their tips and insights. I have 6 simple ideas for you today. I'm going to start off with 2 very simple ideas that can have a significant impact on revenue for the ABTA. The first idea is payroll deductions, monthly giving, and United Way. All three of these options are a very easy way to provide consistent funds for the ABTA. Ask your company if it offers a payroll deduction option for charitable support. Many employers also offer payroll deduction programs through the United Way. If ABTA is not listed in the charity option at your workplace, you can always write us in. You can also set up a recurring gift through the ABTA. I really like to call this the Hulu subscription of charitable giving. You set it up once, then you have a tendency to forget about the money that's coming out of your checking account each month. The second idea I have is matching gifts. With matching gifts, you can sometimes double or even triple your original donation. Many employers sponsor matching gift programs and will match charitable contributions made by their employees. To find out if your company has a matching gift policy, you can go to ABTA's website and use our matching gift database. Each company has their own process, so talk to your HR or payroll department to find out how to secure a match gift. And let's face it, who doesn't like free money? The next three suggestions might take a little bit more of your time and effort, but can still be a simple and effective way to raise funds for the ABTA. My third idea is to participate in one of our BT5K events. If there's a BT5K in your area, participating is a fun and easy way to raise money. You can register as an individual, you can form a team, or you can join the committee and assist with sponsorships and planning of the event. We actually have several individuals that plan a visit to family or friends in our BT5K host cities on the weekend of the walk so they can participate together. In many cases, this has become a special tradition. My fourth idea is to create your own personal fundraising page. Creating a personal fundraising page allows you a platform to share your story and ask for donations with family and friends both near and far. This is a great option for individuals who are active on social media such as Facebook or Twitter, or with lots of email contacts. Personal fundraising pages are also a great way to give in lieu of birthday, anniversary, or wedding gifts. ABTA can even send you wedding card favors to let your guests know that you are opting for donations in lieu of gifts. My fifth idea is workplace giving. Holding a jeans day or wear gray day at work is another easy way to spread awareness and raise funds at work. A great month to ask your employer if you could do this in your office is during May, which is Brain Tumor Awareness Month. ABTA can provide you with flyers and other materials to assist you in planning your efforts. So my last suggestion is definitely a little bit more time and labor intensive, but doesn't have to be hard or elaborate. I'm talking, of course, about hosting your own fundraising event. There are many different types of fundraising events that you can host, but before you settle on an idea, consider the following 4 P's of event planning. The first P is passion. What are you passionate about? Extremely successful fundraisers involve turning something you are passionate about into a fundraising opportunity. Examples include golf outings, bicycle rides, wine or beer tastings, sporting events, card tournaments, etc. The possibilities are endless. But think about what you and your family and friends like to do. A good example of this is Joanne from Bradenton, Florida, who organizes a fishing tournament in memory of her son. Fishing was one of his favorite hobbies, and she was able to turn something he loved into an event to honor him. The second P is planning. How much time to plan? Well, typically a good fundraising event takes 3 to 6 months to plan and to execute. You'll need to think about how many people do you need to help with your plan. Organizing a wine tasting, quite honestly, is very different than organizing a golf outing. Ideally, you'll want to pull together a group of friends and family who are willing to plan with you, and it's really much more fun to work with reliable people than try to do it all yourself. Ken Finley, one of our presenters today, is a great example of this, and will be sharing his personal experience working with friends and family in just a few moments. My third P is promotion. If you really want to get people's attention, you must be a self-promoter. Channels to consider include local media outlets, flyers and press releases, social media such as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Communicating about your event is key to your success. To help organizers promote their event, the ABTA has put together some useful tips and examples to help you get started. Michelle will be able to talk more about this resource and where it can be located at the end of this webinar. My last P is place. Remember that event location matters. Do you want an indoor or an outdoor event? If outdoors, do you have a backup plan or a rain date? Think about ease of access and ample parking. If you're planning an indoor event, be sure to contact your venue choices ASAP, as popular locations are often booked months in advance. Zach, another presenter this afternoon, has experience with an outdoor event and will be able to discuss the importance of having a plan B. We will be hearing from him in just a moment. Now that you have the 4 Ps for planning a successful event, as well as other suggestions for ABTA fundraising, I'm going to turn it back to Michelle to introduce our guest presenters so they can share with you how they turned their passion, planning, promotion, and place into successful fundraisers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your insight on fundraising and why it's so important. I'm really excited to introduce the next portion of our webinar, our volunteer fundraising events. As I previously mentioned, each volunteer presenter is going to share their experiences as organizers and provide insight on being a first-year event, how to solicit for sponsorship, and utilizing a committee. I hope this insight and how-tos can help take the fear out of fundraising for all of you listening today. Zach, why don't you start us off with your experience as a first-time event?
Hello, Michelle. Thank you very much. My name is Zach Szykowny. As mentioned, I graduated from Illinois Wesleyan. I'm 25 years old, and I work as a tax accountant downtown in Chicago. And I'm just here to talk a little bit about my event today. So why did I do this? My little brother Max, when he was 14 years old, so about 2.5 years ago, was diagnosed with a brain tumor right around Thanksgiving, actually. We were told by the doctor the brain tumor was about the size of a golf ball and that the prognosis was not good. He would need chemo, and by the end it might not turn out well. But luckily, 24 hours later, they did some tests on the tumor after brain surgery and found out it was a positive prognosis. So now he is back in high school after a second surgery, and he's doing a lot of physical and mental therapy sessions. Especially the mental is very important. And obviously he and my family recognize that he is a very lucky individual, as we know other families that haven't been so lucky. And that was a big reason why I wanted to try to do something, an event. So a little background on why. So Bats for Brains is a charity wiffle ball tournament that we held on the south side of Chicago. I had previously been in a wiffle ball tournament a couple of years before that had been canceled with about 30 teams. So I knew there was still a lot of interest. It was a creative event, a fun event that I knew would get attendance, which is very vital in me wanting to do an event that I knew could raise money if I knew I can get people to actually come. So when I decided to do this event, I need to ask myself, how are we going to raise money and how are we going to pay for expenses? Now, when I'm starting up, I need to know, first of all, that I need to accept help. I thought I could do it all myself, quite honestly. But as the day got near, I realized I had put too much responsibility on myself. So the further in advance you can delegate your responsibilities, the better. And that kind of goes hand in hand with being organized. If you can organize a group of people, responsibilities, expenses and everything, you'll end up much better in the end and a lot less stressed out. Also going hand with that is to have a vision for your end goal. So my end goal, I wanted to raise at least $5,000. And along with like a certain amount of teams, I wanted to at least have 20 teams. We ended up with 20 teams actually. So that was really exciting. But to have that goal and to work towards that goal constantly, it's good to have. We had rented out a forest preserve for this. So I wanted to make sure everything was paid for in advance so we had no issues the day of or the week of, because you have a million other things going on, and that's one thing you don't want to worry about. And then for this event, we wanted to make it annual, and if you want an event that a lot of people want to make annual as well, it's good to take good pictures, video of the events so you can promote it going forward. Also on the slide here, I have a budget. I'm an accountant, so I like doing budgets. I wrote down, did everything, got all the entry fees. I want to be very transparent with the people donating, especially in a first year event, so they knew what their money was going towards and how it was being spent and how much we raised. So some of the challenges I had was, first of all, I have this event nobody's ever heard of. How are people going to sign up for it? Well, social media, obvious first answer. You hit it. Everybody on your Facebook, message them. Right underneath that is relentlessness. Just even people you haven't talked to in a couple of years that you might be friendly with, reach out to them. I went and knocked on a lot of doors and handed out a lot of flyers. That includes getting sponsors as well. We got a T-shirt for the event. I went up to every business in my neighborhood, handed out a flyer, asked them to donate. And I set the price low. This was my first event, so I asked for $50, which is not a lot for a business to donate. I wanted to make it look like an official event, so I got a lot of businesses to donate that way by starting off low. And hopefully in the years forward, we build up trust, and they can donate a little more over time. Obviously, mine was an outdoor event, so I needed to schedule and plan the day's events. This was a tournament, so I needed to plan everybody's schedule, make sure everything was running smoothly. And then finally, as part of that budget thing, one of the challenges was setting a price. How much do I want to raise, and how much are other things going to cost? So like renting out the forest preserve compared to how much money I want to charge for food. We had raffle prizes. That was a big thing within the planning. So if you have a goal in mind, how are you going to achieve that goal, and what prices do you need to set? That's also very important. And as mentioned, a contingency plan. Outdoor event, obviously. If it rained and it was way too heavy or a lot of lightning, we had rented out the next day, and I had gotten enough yeses from the participants to know that if it had to go to the next day, we could still have a successful event. But if we didn't, I would have had to come up with a different plan. But that was the plan that we had come up with. So, and you should ask that way in advance as well. So on my final slide, it took a lot of planning and such, but we had a really successful day. I didn't get to enjoy it as much, but my suggestion is definitely enjoy it when the day your event has arrived. I had fences, and it was a really windy day, and I bought the wrong poles. So a lot of the fences were falling over, and I was going around fixing those all day. So it was a little stressful for me, but hopefully you can plan it out a little better, and I will plan it out better in the future. And hopefully you can enjoy your event. I just want to thank everybody for listening, and thank you everybody for volunteering. It's just an awesome cause. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Zach, for sharing your experiences on organizing a first-time event and sharing your brother's story. With organizing events, I've learned that a lot of individuals ask me questions about the costs and how, what is the best way to offset those costs. And I thought Mary Kate would be a great resource for everyone because she utilizes sponsorships very well. And so Mary Kate's here today to share her story and how she utilizes those sponsorships.
Thanks, Michelle. I want to thank everyone at the ABTA for inviting me to speak here on behalf of the Bill Rohn Foundation. So again, my name is Mary Kate Rohn. I'm 25 years old. I graduated from North Central College 3 years ago, and I currently work for a golf management company on the North Shore in Chicago. So a little bit about the Bill Rohn Foundation. So the man behind the foundation. Bill Rohn was my father. He battled a brain tumor starting in 2012. Sadly, he passed away after a hard-fought battle in April 2014. His brain tumor was malignant. He went through 2 different surgeries as well as radiation and chemo, and he was only 56 years old when he passed away. So the start of this journey, my family and I, about a year after my dad passed away, really wanted to make the situation positive. So we started the foundation to honor his memory. And so in short, the Bill Rohn Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to funding breakthrough brain tumor research through donations to the ABTA. We firmly believe in this fight to cure primary malignant and central nervous system brain tumors, which take the lives of nearly 17,000 people each year. And again, as I said, we really wanted to bring something positive out of the difficult situation we faced and to impact other families that are going through a similar state. So our efforts are centered around the Birdies for Bill golf outing. My dad really loved the game of golf, which was a passion he shared with me as well as other family members and friends. So we decided, hey, what better way to honor his memory than with an annual golf outing and have a majority of the proceeds benefit the ABTA. So in total, we're very proud to say that we've raised nearly $45,000 for the ABTA since the foundation's inception in 2015. So for our golf outing in 2016, we raised $27,000 in the inaugural year of the event. And then this past July, we raised $17,500, which is very exciting for having only been, starting raising money 2 years ago. So to go right into our fundraising efforts, I want to talk to you first about community involvement. Our group that organized the event comprised of my mom, my sister and I, as well as various other family members who lended support. So we started with a long list of local and franchise businesses, and we would work our way down the list trying to see who could we reach out to get golfers, to get sponsors, to get people to donate items for a raffle or silent auction. So some examples that we leaned on were real estate agencies in town, local restaurants, grocery stores, other golf courses, and then as well as big organizations such as Topgolf, Chicago sports teams. So for example, the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox donated autograph photos to us. So while it's not a monetary donation, it's something that we can, excite our golfers with as a raffle item. And then it was also important for us to network within the community. My dad was a realtor while he was still alive, and he also grew up in town, so went to high school and college in our hometown. So we would appeal to local businesses that he worked with, being a realtor and having lived there for so long, as well as enlisting help of friends and family in town to help spread the word to, their friends, and then it branched off from there. So in our process of, community involvement and seeking people to help us out, we sought out both donations and non-monetary items, as I had mentioned, because we needed items for prizes and raffle and silent auction, various ways to kind of show our support for our sponsors and donors. The next part of our fundraising process was creating this tiered system as well as securing sponsorships. So our tiered system, we related it back to golf, and so we offered 5 different sponsorship levels, starting at the bottom, which was about $100, all the way up to our hole-in-one sponsorship, which was $1,000 plus. So we really wanted to offer individuals and companies several donation options. We know not everyone can, really write a check for $1,000 as much as they would want to. So we wanted to appeal to different groups of people, different companies, through various relationships through families and corporate companies. We were able to secure sponsorships at all different types of levels. And I'll get into here in a little bit just some of the marketing that we did to recognize these sponsors. But we would recognize sponsors through, designating different holes during the event that they would be, you're the sponsor for hole number 9 today, or we recognize them through a brochure. So sponsorships helped us a lot because that was where a bulk of our donations came, and we're proud to say we secured several hole-in-one sponsorships over the last 2 years. So getting into marketing here, marketing is my background, so this was a piece that I was really passionate about and was happy to, help the foundation grow from the very beginning. So on the left here, we have our save the date for this year. That went out months in advance. So that went to anyone that participated in our first year's event, as well as, friends and family, people in the golf industry that I knew, just anyone we thought we could reach out to for support. In the middle here is one of our Facebook posts. So we created a Facebook page just to appeal to anyone that uses that platform. It's a quick and easy way to spread the word these days. On the right is a picture of one of our whole sponsorship signs, just to show who donated, and it was just another way for us to recognize them publicly, and that was from our event in 2016. And then we also created a website, thebillrownfoundation.com, so please feel free to visit that at your convenience if you'd like to learn more. And then we created a dedicated email address as well. So we really wanted to have a lot of touch points for our name and our cause, so that's why we created these different avenues. And so some of the challenges and excitement of fundraising. So as has been said throughout this webinar, fundraising can and it will be challenging, but when you consider the cause, it really is worth the time and the effort and all the fun that you put into it. So for my family and I, some of the major challenges that we experienced were, one, keeping our cause top of mind for others. People live busy lives, and we completely understand that and can sympathize with that, and so we really had to reach out to people several times to remind them of our event and our cause and donating money and so forth. Another challenge was the time needed to organize an annual event. I can say from personal experience the last 2 years, it does feel like a second job at times because you're constantly, organizing and fine-tuning all of those last-minute details and communicating with all of your donors and sponsors and just, all of the back-end work that goes into an event. And then finally, one of the other challenges we experienced was securing spots ultimately for our golf outing, as well as donations after the inaugural year. So it's very hard to, obviously get a foundation running, get an event going, but then to kind of keep it going after that first year and keeping it top of mind for others. And so the ABTA asked us what we were most excited about as well as nervous about when we first started fundraising. We were most excited about just raising as much money as we possibly could. We really wanted to help other families who have experienced the hardships we faced. When my dad was battling the brain tumor, we really want to see, an end to this terrible disease ultimately. And we were nervous about whether or not we would be successful. I guess, to be totally honest, in the beginning, we didn't necessarily set a goal. We want to raise $1,000. We want to raise $15,000. We just said, we want to donate money. We want people to enjoy, honoring my dad's memory and really want to have a positive impact on this great cause that we're supporting. So a little bit some of the fun stuff. This picture here is my family and I celebrating after our second annual event here, which was hosted at a golf club in Bolingbrook here in Illinois. So some of our exciting fundraising moments, at the top is seeing our efforts come to life at the annual golf outing. We celebrated with family and friends, and we raised additional money for the cause through fun events. So we held on-course contests. We had several raffle and silent auction items that were great. We did a 50-50 raffle, which we raised $1,000 alone in that raffle, which was excellent. Another exciting fundraising moment is securing multiple hole-in-one sponsorships, as I mentioned before. So we had even a few donors that donated over $2,000. So we're so grateful to everyone for any donation that they gave to the ABTA and to the foundation, as that helped us in our, in supporting this cause. And then finally, it's very exciting to write the final check for the ABTA after the last two golf outings. I know everyone on the line here can attest to how not fun it is to write a check for bills and whatnot, in our daily lives, but really writing this final check to the ABTA and putting it in the mail was so exciting for us, and to show all of our efforts to finally come to life. And then finally, I just want to give a little bit of advice to those on the line, our fellow fundraisers. One, be passionate about the cause. You wouldn't be on this call if you weren't passionate about brain tumor research, so just keep up that passion every day and find new ways to show your passion to others. Start early, so if you're thinking about either organizing an event or just really getting your fundraising efforts going, start as early as you can, write those ideas down, get a committee together, do whatever you can. Always follow up with potential donors. That goes along with keeping this cause top of mind for other people. And be realistic with yourself. So as I said before, your first year will be the easiest to raise money, because people are very generous in the first year. They really want to support. They're also excited about your cause. So you're going to need to double up your efforts for subsequent years. As you saw, we raised more money in our first year than our second year, but we're still happy to raise any money for that matter. So really just keeping that cause important for other people. Express your gratitude to each and every donor, no matter the size of the donation. So we wrote handwritten thank you notes to every single donor, whether they donated $25 or $2,500. And that was important to us. I mean, it took a lot of extra time, even after the event was over, but we saw the importance in really showing people how thankful we are that they're supportive of our cause and, supporting the ABTA. Take each fundraising year as a learning experience. So you will learn more in your fundraising efforts than you even thought possible. What's successful, what's not going to be successful, what you need to do for the next year. So that's been helpful for us as we organized our second event, which is a little bit easier, but just as time consuming. And again, have fun always. You have to put the fun back in fundraising, because if you're not enjoying it, there's really no purpose for doing it. So thank you again to the ABTA for allowing us to speak, and look forward to connecting with any of you in the future if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Mary Kate, for sharing some of your tips and tricks on how to effectively solicit and utilize your sponsorships. As Mary Kate and Zach has both shown us, there can be some moving parts when organizing an event. And as an event organizer, it's really important for you all to realize that you don't have to do it alone. And Ken Finley is here, who's our final volunteer presenter, and he's going to share with you on how organizing a committee can not only bring people together, but bring much needed support and fun as well.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I want to talk with you about the reason why we do what we do for the Jim Vassar Memorial Golf Tournament. And so Jim's story goes back that he was vice president for a workers' comp third-party administrator in Ohio from 1992 to 2003, and then he bought the business and renamed us V&A Risk Services. I've been with the company for 21 years now, still working here. So in April of 2012, we were making a presentation, really educating the Ohio-Toledo Area Human Resource Association at a dinner. And the slides came up for Jim to give us part of the presentation, and he couldn't get the words out. And that's when we realized something was wrong. So the next day he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Excuse me. So what we decided to do was we held an event called the Jim Vassar Kicks Cancer event on September 22nd of the year, right after Jim was diagnosed. And basically, it was just an event for people to come together and watch an Ohio State football game with him, because that's what he was absolutely most passionate about. So we invited, his friends, his business connections. He was a very vital part of our business community here in Toledo. So we had a lunch and a silent auction, and Jim and his wife had decided ahead of time that 80% of the revenue would go to the ABTA. The main reason is because it was a great resource for them as they had questions, and his wife Leslie had attended patient family conferences, so it was a very good resource for them to get some answers and to get some guidance. So the other 20% did go to a local cancer treatment center where Jim was getting his radiation. So he did pass away in June of 2013, and we decided, his friends, a bunch of his friends, decided to remember him with a golf tournament in his name. So the first one was held that October, and we split the proceeds evenly. This was a decision made by his wife between the ABTA and the Toledo Rotary Foundation and the ProMedica Rehab Fund for families of cancer patients. So the 5th annual JVMGT was just held a couple weeks ago, and we have raised over $90,000 for charities that Jim held dear, and including $35,800 for the ABTA. So one of the things that Michelle had asked me to talk about is our committee. Well, we've got a lot of crazy people and a lot of fun on our committee. Each one kind of fills a different role, and these names I have here are not their official title, but I can tell you that this is I can tell you exactly who fits each one of these profiles. We've got the visionary, the decision maker, the tax guru who knows the tax rules and things like that, the cheerleader, the champion for vendors, the liaison between the printer and the golf course, and then the spreadsheet master, that's me. So I keep everything organized and I know every dollar that comes in. So we accept all of our roles, and I think every one of these roles is needed. If you have a committee that you set up, you've got to have someone who really has the vision. You got to have someone who's going to organize it on the backside. You got to have somebody filling pretty much each of these roles. And the key is that we have a lot of fun planning it together. So we'll get together and have some adult beverages, several months ahead, and we'll start to plan, and we'll look at what we did last year, and we'll look at, who donated last year, and we'll kind of divvy up who's going to contact each person. And we did incorporate and became a 501c3, which we found very beneficial. So what we did throughout this whole process is that we always incorporate things that remind us of Jim. So we hang banners that promote the ABTA. That's important to let everybody know why we're doing this. On one of the golf holes, you get to use Jim's chipper club, for which he was famous. I don't ask Mary Kate because it's probably not legal, the club he had, but we let everybody use it. It's a lot of fun. It's a fundraiser on the course. And then the laughs that we share, they're genuine. I mean, everybody realizes Jim is watching us, and we have held it 5 years, and 3 of those years we've had either pouring rain or even hail. So we know that he's also laughing at us, but that gets us all together. We all have Jim in common. So at the end of our rounds, we gather for dinner, and we watch whatever college football game's on that day, preferably Ohio State, although this last year, our tea time was at noon, and the game was finally set at noon. So we actually all missed it, but they, what have you. And ultimately, everyone wants to honor Jim by putting an end to brain cancer. So that's what makes this thing work. So as far as some final thoughts and some advice that I would give based on the 5 years of history that we have on this, definitely every year you want to evaluate what went right and what went wrong. Be very brutally honest about it. Look at what games on the course worked, for example, in our situation. Look at what did not go right. But remember that you're never going to please everybody. So just do the best you can and realize that, at the end of the day, you're doing what you can and you're doing it for the right reason. Also, don't be afraid to shake the bushes and find people who might enjoy your event. So there are people that might not even know Jim that still might want to, benefit brain cancer patients. So, but always keep your honoree in the forefront. I know that Mary Kate probably does that. I know that Zach has done that with his brother. But here we have Jim, and we always have pictures of him around, and his wife and his family are still very active in this. And mainly, don't lose your passion for finding a cure until we do.
Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing your experience working with the committee. I know committees can definitely be a great way to bring diverse talent and support together for any event, and I think it's definitely something to consider as an event organizer. Obviously, the ABTA recognizes all the time and effort that gets put into organizing an event, which is why we want to provide resources to help you get started. First, we have a pre-filled event checklist. Now, keep in mind, not everything may be necessary depending on what event you decide to choose, but I thought it would be a great way for someone to get started and even get people to think of ideas they maybe didn't consider originally. The second piece we have is social media tips, which I think all 3 of our volunteer presenters had touched on, as well as Kelly. Promotion is a big tip for when organizing events. You definitely want to bring awareness to your event, bring awareness to the cause, and these social media tips can give you an advantage, and we also provide some example posts, again, to help you get started. We also have fundraising ideas, just a list that we had compiled, whether it was some events that happened throughout the years or just some that we have heard of that were great successes. It ranges from small to large. So whether it's a garage sale or a golf tournament, there is no type of event that you have to do. So this is a great way to be creative and consider your options. Many people don't even realize that their interest could actually be turned into a fundraiser. So I hope taking a look at this list makes you realize of all the different possibilities that you have. We also have FAQs. We realize that especially for first-time fundraisers, there's a lot of questions. And so we're hoping that providing a list of frequently asked questions helps you get the answers you need right away. But of course, you can always reach out to myself or any ABTA staff member if one of your questions did not make the list. We also have fundraising pages. We have different platforms here at the ABTA as far as fundraisers, but in particular, we do have our Breakthrough Your Way program that assists those in creating their own fundraising event. And much like the BT5K, as well as our other platform, Team Breakthrough, they all provide fundraising pages. It's a great way for you to share your story, share some background information on your event, and you can share the link very easily on your Facebook or Twitter or any social media channels. Again, it's a quick way for your supporters to donate by just a click of a button. And finally, of course, you always have me. I'm here for any resources that you might need, specifically ABTA materials. And again, with any questions or just help with starting up, I included my information on this slide, but I will also be the one reaching out to all of you at the end of this webinar with some additional resources and the link to this webinar, so you will also have my contact information that way. So now we have made it to our final portion of question and answers. As always, you can ask any type of question you would like, whether that be for our volunteer presenters, Kelly, or myself. It's at the right-hand corner of your screen if you wanted to type anything that you're looking for any type of answers to. So I'll give just a few moments to give people a chance to type in some few questions. All right, so we definitely have a few questions, which is fantastic. I'm trying to keep up with all of them. Let's see what we have here. All right. The first question I see is ABTA listed in the combined federal campaign for federal employees? And I'll actually let Kelly take a stab at this question.
So the quick answer is yes, we are listed. We do have our name, and we do and have the ability to have people with their federal combined campaign to list the ABTA as a designee.
Perfect. Our next question, and this can really be directed to any of our volunteer organizers and hear on their experiences. Mary Kate, you touched on soliciting for sponsors, but this question is, how do you deal with going to the same people and or companies year after year? We host an annual hockey tournament for the past 11 years and feel guilty going back to the same donors year after year. So Ken or Zach or Mary Kate, what are your thoughts on that?
I think while it's hard to constantly go back and feel like you're hassling people for money year after year, I think going at it with a personal approach is really important. So whether it's you send a handwritten note, like I said, following up with thank yous, I think it is important to get repeat donors, because if they donated one year, they're likely to obviously remember that and want to support your cause again, even if it's not the same amount. So I think it is important to follow up with those same people, because you need to establish that strong base of supporters.
I have found that most donors, especially businesses, look forward to that each year. They're not surprised by it when you consistently reach out to them, and they are most generous, it seems. So that hasn't been an issue for us. I'm not 11 years into it like that person is, so congratulations to that.
Perfect. Let's see. Do you have a list of events or types of events that people did? I would say a lot of them are included in our fundraising idea list. Granted, not all of them are included, and like I mentioned, it really ranges. We have bowling tournaments, we have a fishing tournament, people host their own 5Ks, so it really varies, even just a dinner or a simple silent auction. But if you're still having struggles trying to figure out what event you think is best for you, please reach out to me. I would be happy to have a conversation, and we can really discuss, what your interests are, or quite possibly the person that you are hosting in memory of or in honor of, and try to utilize what their interests were. And it looks like the next question is, what events were the most successful and least successful? I'll say I don't consider any event unsuccessful or least successful. I think any type of event where you're able to raise any type of donations is fantastic. We've had maybe as small as $50 to $100 to, so on and so forth, but I would never consider that not successful, especially like Mary Kate had mentioned. They didn't even put a goal to their event, because really any amount really makes a difference, even if it's just $1. So I really wouldn't, say anyone is least or most successful. Let's see. So we also have a few more questions popping up. One question I do see is, does the ABTA send donors receipts for tax purposes? We do send donor receipts for $25 or more, but if you happen to donate less than that, you can just request one, and we would be happy to still send you a letter for those purposes. This question's for Ken. Ken, did your committee come together organically, or did you personally recruit individuals?
It actually came together organically. These folks that formed the committee, most of them were close friends of Jim's or coworkers. So we all kind of knew each other ahead of time, and so that made it a little easier to form the committee for sure.
Awesome. It looks like I have a question.
But it does have. I should say that it does have Ohio State and Michigan fans on the committee, so it's quite fun.
Perfect. Mary Kate, an individual is asking, do you maintain contact throughout the year with your various sponsors, or do you just reach out around event time?
That's a really good question. So I will say that a majority of our donors and participants in the outing are friends and close family members. So we do obviously keep up with our family throughout the year. As far as corporate sponsors, several of them are included with people that my mom works with through her business in the city. And so she does keep up with them on a business level. And kind of touch points throughout the year include, as I said, thank yous after the event, posts on social media. But I think there's always room for improvement there. So that's a really good question.
Perfect. So it looks like our next question, it looks like, are 50-50 raffles legal in every state? And I'm going to go ahead and let Kelly answer that one.
So my answer is I am not sure, but I will tell you where you can go. Every state has a gaming commission or office, and normally they have a website that will give you the answer to that question. Sometimes you do have to apply for a gambling quote, quote, license. Usually it's a minimal amount of money, maybe $25, that would allow your organization to be able to do a 50-50. So my advice is to check with your state's gaming commission and get the answer depending on your state.
It looks like our next question is for Zach. Zach, did you need any permits when you organized the event at a forest preserve, or did you face any red tape or issues?
Yeah, I needed to go to the forest preserve office and get a couple permits. I actually needed one for the day before the event, and then the day before to set up, and then the day of. And then obviously I had a contingent one if we needed it the next day as well. And as far as red tape, I mean, there's little things like little fees added on to the permit, like if you had restrooms or a grill on site. So there's little things like that as well you had to consider. Oh, and a generator. That was another thing as well for the outdoor event. So basically, any little thing, they try to give you a fee for. At least at the Forest Preserve, I did it at, which is in the Cook County Forest Preserve.
Okay, great, thank you. Our next question is, when signing up for a fundraising page, is there a minimum goal requirement that needs to be met? And that answer is no. We don't have a specific goal that you have to reach, and if you don't reach it, you have to pay the difference or anything like that. It's all free, and you guys can set your own goal. And we think that, again, $1 versus 100 and more, it all makes a difference. So we would hate to put a number on that. So they're definitely all free for use. And then this next question, I would like Ken and Mary Kate to maybe touch on a bit, but I can definitely answer the first part. So it looks like the next question is, do you have to become a 501c3? And why did Mary Kate and Ken decide to do that? So just to answer the first part of that question, you do not have to become a 501c3 to hold an event. Speaking as someone who supports those interested in hosting their own fundraising events, I would say about 98% of them do not become a 501c3, but I'm sure there are benefits to doing that, which is why I'd love for Mary Kate and Ken to share why they decided to go that route.
So for the Bill Rohn Foundation specifically, we had decided to go that route for a couple of reasons. One is the tax exemption status. So you're eligible to receive tax deductible contributions. So you can give your donors those tax deductions when they make the charitable gift to your event or your foundation or whatever it is. And then it's also kind of a recognition of status as well, creates some credibility, puts your name out there. And then you can use that 501c3 distinction. And I'll let Ken talk on, why they did it as well.
Yeah, absolutely the same reasons. That was fantastic. One of the things that we found out in our first year when we were not a 501c3 was that a lot of the business donors were asking, are you guys a not-for-profit, 501? And what it did, it legitimized some of the things for us also, and required us to follow some rules and make sure that, that everything was paid out, which we were doing anyway, but it just put that to paper, and it made everything a little bit more legitimate for us even, so.
And just to touch on that a little bit, I know this resource was not listed, but we do provide acknowledgement letters. These letters can be used to show legitimacy of your event so that sponsors or donors know that the money you're raising is being donated to an organization. So I can manipulate the letter and be able to really specify it towards your event. So that can also assist in your efforts as well.
Michelle, may I add to that a little bit?
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I realized when I started, I was in a 501c, and I wanted to get businesses to donate. So I just had them write a check directly to the American Brain Tumor Association, so they still could get that tax benefit. And then individuals that paid for my event, I had them pay me directly. So I kind of separated out that way since I was not one.
Perfect. Thank you so much for providing that perspective for us. And it looks like we just have about a minute left, and I believe everyone has submitted their questions. So that really concludes our fundraising webinar. Thank you so much to all our presenters this afternoon who shared great insight for us today. For those of you who registered for the webinar, you'll be receiving a follow-up email which includes the link to the webinar, information on where to locate our fundraising tools, and how to get involved in our various fundraising opportunities. If you have any further questions or need of additional support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would be happy to assist. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. I'm going to stop the recording, so if you could just pause for a brief moment.